What the Fooker? Yeah, that's not normal. And this is one of my unique Fookers. That little red anodized spacer there will tell some viewers something about this pedal. Let me talk about Fookers. I've been a Fooker fan for years. It's a lot of F's there. But I have been a Fooker fan. I like them. And I know people talk about this being a knockoff of the race face Chester. You know, I'm not going to say it's a knockoff. I'm going to say it's a Fooker. It does look similar and they work similar, but hey, really, if you manufacture stuff overseas at plants and countries known for taking intellectual properties, and then that happens, whose fault is it really? I'll leave that there. But let me talk just a bit about the Fookers. I'm a big fan of the pedals. I've used them for years on this channel. I think maybe over a dozen bikes that I featured here, I've put Fookers on them. They have worked well for me. They've held up incredibly well until I got to this one. And let me tell you a little bit about this one and what makes it special, because there are two Fookers that you can buy, two different types of Fookers. When we're talking about these composite or race face Chester looking type Fookers, there is the standard one, and then there's the one with this anodized ring there. This is standard bearings inside here. And inside these, this is the up tier Fooker, meaning you spend about an extra $2. And the up tier Fooker gets you needle bearings. I've tried earlier, and you can't really see down in there. I'll see if I can edit in a shot where it's lit up in there. But there are needle bearings in there, and that's supposed to make these better. A higher tier, easier, freer rolling. They can handle weight, distribute it over a larger area. There are things that come with needle bearings that make them better. But the standard Fooker, needle bearing Fooker, only a couple of dollars difference. So when it came time, this is my e-mountain bike, when it came time to put a pedal on this, and I knew I was going to use a Fooker, I decided to get the best Fooker, that $2 extra, and they've worked well up until now. This is actually my first Fooker failure. And let me tell you what happened with this. I'd been riding and I started noticing a little creak, and instantly I thought, oh no, a creak, please tell me that it is not the bottom bracket, because the bottom bracket on this bike is an expensive motor. So I was worried about that, but I noticed that there was just a little bit of play there, a little bit of wear in that bearing. And if I could have shown you that, or if you did see it, those bearings are a little flat now. So they have worn, and we're talking about over maybe 160 miles or so that they've worn. But I also noticed that there was just a little bit of in and out play. I'm just trying to duplicate. So I put the bike, this was at the end of a trail ride, put the bike on my bike rack, thought I'll swap these out as soon as I get home. The next morning I was awoken by someone that said, hey, I'm out at the trail, do you want to ride? I completely forgot about this. I hit the trail, and luckily I ended up, it was just one of those days where you just know not to ride. I even made a little short where I hit a rock and went off the trail. And I got off the trail, I put my bike on the bike rack, and I got it home, and then I thought, oh yeah. And the first thing I noticed was, you can't see it at that angle here, but this is missing. This was not there. And there's a little block in there. It's kind of a retainer cap. That was missing. But not only that, when I put my socket down in there was no nut. This freely comes off. So I actually rode this. I think I rode this for at least a mile on the trail with nothing holding it on other than the pressure of my foot on the pedal. And I noticed the creak was getting really loud and clunky. And that's why. Because this totally failed. It lost this retainer. It lost the nut that goes on here that holds all of this together. And those bearings down in there are a little flat already, those needle bearings. So let me tell you on this, as soon as I showed this on my channel, that I had went with this needle bearing version of the Fooker, I had at least a handful of people tell me, some in comments on the video, some contacted me outside of YouTube and said, yeah, I'm a big fan of Fookers. I, like you, like the Fooker, good pedals. But my story was, when I went with the needle bearings, they wore out real fast. And some of these people said 3 to 6 months they had to replace the pedal, and they had other Fookers that they hadn't had to replace at all. I know one guy was a high miler, and he said he replaces pedals every year and a half because he wears them out. He's such a big high miler. He said standard Fookers worked fine for over a year, but he only got 3 months out of these needle bearing Fookers. Anyway, that's why I'm making this video, because, well, that's a no-no. And that could have been dangerous if I would have kept riding. And I guess I'm gonna have to add, maybe this is a part of bike maintenance. We all learn together, and I'm still learning. Maybe it's a part of bike maintenance that you check the bolts and stuff that hold the pedals together. I'm gonna be honest, I've never checked that on any pedals ever. There's the other Fooker. This one's fine. But this one, let's see, this is the right side pedal. For some reason, this one just came all apart. Lost stuff in there and came apart. Should I have checked that? I've never done it before. Like I said, I'm being honest. That's just something I never check on a bike. I check pedals periodically to make sure they're tight on the crank arm and, wobble on them to make sure that the bearings aren't wearing out. But I've never had to check the retainer bolt for a pedal. So what do you think? Did I miss something and this is my fault? Very possible, but I'm thinking no, and I'm gonna heed the advice of my viewers that told me that these needle bearing Fookers just don't last as long. And these standard Fookers have done so well for me. They've been such good pedals. However, it's only fair that I be honest about something. I share everything with you guys, the good and the bad. Keen-eyed viewers may have noticed that when I did my rear tube replacement on this bike, that I had this color pedal on this side and then the red one on the other side. And that was because I needed to go on a ride and all I had was this. Actually, I had this, but I opened these for some reason and I put this on there. And after that ride, about halfway through that ride, I noticed, well, I can't do it just in my hands, but when it's mounted, I can do it. There was a little bit of play on this pedal, a brand new Fooker. Brand new out of the box. And that's making me wonder, in general, the quality of everything, in my opinion, seems to be going down. This is a year-old Fooker. This is a newer Fooker, an even newer Fooker, and both of those failed. This one I had on the Ozark Trail Ridge 29's, been working fine, but that's 2 Fooker failures back to back. Could be coincidence. Everything. There are coincidences, things can happen, but this one, based on about at least 5 other people telling me that their needle-bearing Fookers failed, means that I'm just not going to do the needle-bearing Fookers anymore. I mean, $2, I can save $2 and get the standard ones if they work, but I'm wondering, and this is where community works, have you had any Fooker issues? Have you been Fookered recently, or have your Fookers been holding up fine? Do you use the needle-bearing Fooker or the standard? Comment below and let me know. I'd like to know. I'm putting a lot of miles on this bike, so I need reliable pedals. So for this case, even though I still think maybe these standard Fookers, unless, pending on your feedback, I think the standard Fookers are probably still going to be okay. But I upgraded for this bike's case since I ride it so much. And I went with Stamp 1s. I've used Stamp 1s before, but this is the large platform Stamp 1. Got a little extra paw area on that pedal. That should be fun. Plus, I trust these, so I'm going to put this on here. It's also red, kind of goes with my trim theme, getting back to the red. Even a better red than that Fooker red pedal. But I think for this bike, since I'm putting so many miles on it now, that I'm going to go with this temporarily until I fish out what's going on with Fooker. And we see if it's just a coincidence that 2 failed back to back, or if there's some sort of quality control issue, and or really only these have the quality control issue, the needle bearing ones, and this just happened to be a coincidence. But that's where I need your help. Comment below. I want to hear what you have to say. I read all the comments. In the meantime, I'm going to put these on here and get this back together and get a couple of more upgrades finished on this. And then I think I can unveil my final, here comes the pedal. And then I can unveil Project D in what will likely be roughly its final form. Boy, it sure has been getting the miles put on it. And yeah, get out of the limelight there, buddy. Sure has been getting the miles put on it, and it's holding up well. These Bafang mid-drive motors, that M510, amazing. That's my Fooker saga, these needle bearing pedals. I'm not that impressed. Actually, not that impressed. I'm not impressed at all with the failure on this. And that happened within, 150, 170 miles. Standard Fookers normally have been rock solid for me, but this one was less so. So comment with your experience, your thoughts, your opinions. I look forward to hearing what you have to say. I hope you're subscribed. If you haven't already, please do. Have a great day.